All right, welcome back to YHC TV Hometown Heroes program today. And today we're visiting with another Dexter native, William Wes Eskew. And Mr. Wes, thank you for being on our program today.
Well, I'm glad to have you.
Thank you for being a good soldier.
Thank you.
And representing, fighting for the U.S. Wes is, how young are you now, Wes?
I'll be 85 on my birthday.
Be 85 on your birthday, and your lovely bride here today hid out, and her
Yes.
name's Sue, right?
Sweet Sue.
Sweet Sue, Sweet Sue. Well, and you and her has had 62 years of wedding bliss, right?
True.
Good deal, good deal. What year were you married? I bet you don't remember.
1952.
My gollies, he doesn't.
52. 3, 2. 50.
No,
April Fool's Day.
I better behave. I'm going to get you in trouble yet, haven't I?
April Fool's Day. I can always remember that date.
Can you? Yeah, April Fool's Day, that's right. Well, Wes, I believe you started out in Arkansas, didn't you?
That's right. I was born in Marmaduke, Arkansas.
Marmaduke, Arkansas.
Clay County.
Yeah, I know right where that's at.
Yeah.
And then, as a youngster, you moved north with the family.
I left the land of opportunity and came to Sugar. Well, Bernie actually is Bernie or
right.
Sugar Tree District down south of here. All about 6-7 miles, 8 I guess.
And was Sugar Tree at that time a church and a school, or
Yeah,
just a school?
there was. There's still well, the school ain't there, but the church is.
Okay, but the school's gone, and that's where you attended.
Yes, a Baptist.
School.
It was a Baptist denomination.
Uh-huh. And if I remember right, you told me you went to the 6th grade there at Sugar Tree. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then had to go to work.
I had to go to work and move southwest of Dexter here on ZZ.
On ZZ. And
It wasn't ZZ back then though.
Just
It was
an
just
old dirt road, wasn't it?
an old country road.
and you was on a farm out there, wasn't you, with your family?
I farmed there with a pair of horses,
Pair of horses. What was their names?
Dolly and Dan.
And if I remember right, you told me you had one blind mule.
I had one blind mule, and that mule could follow a fur with no walking breaking plow,
Yeah.
and never stumbled. And couldn't see nothing.
Couldn't see a thing. Did he know when lunchtime was?
Yeah, that's the best thing they knew. They
Dad,
always looked toward the barn.
My dad always said if it was anywhere from 5 minutes to 12 o'clock and you was at the end, you wasn't going to get him turned and go back down another road.
My rows was pretty straight to got to the end where the barn was, and they'd always curve to the barn.
Oh, goodness. You said you jumped on that mule and surprised him one time, didn't you?
Yeah, and she elevated me up in there, and I came down on my hands like that, and they bothered me for years. But
How old was you when that happened?
about 8.
Oh my goodness. When you're 8 to old 9, 10, you're kind of bulletproof, aren't you?
Yeah.
You can ride anything. Well, you had a brother and sister you grew up with, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's passed away in what year? See? Well, 10 years over ago.
And your sister's still with you?
Sister lives at Lebanon, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And she's 9 years younger than I am.
I see.
And my brother was 18 months older than me.
Now, you was telling me one time, too, that one of the mules or the horses, somebody put the harness on for you, and you went out there and they had the collar on upside down.
Well, my brother-in-law used them one year. I ain't going to tell you his name, Bob Jenkins.
All right.
Anyway, he put the collar upside down on the horse. We was going to cut sunflowers.
Yeah. Now, how did you cut sunflowers back then? I don't know.
You just took a knife and pull the stalks was laying on the ground after that tornado come. Well, it wasn't an actual
Hurricane.
tornado, but a real high wind. It just uprooted the sunflower.
Yeah.
And he hired the man girls to help us cut them.
I'll bet. Then you worked for Bob Jenkins' son.
Yeah, his dad.
His dad.
And then me and Bob, we went in partnerships farming.
Did you?
Yeah, and we worked together, 10 years or so.
Now, didn't you truck to St. Louis and took something up there and sold it that big Soulard's Market?
Yeah, it's a Soulard Market.
It's still in existence. It's huge, that thing
Yeah,
is.
that thing is unbelievable. They have corn or sweet corn.
Oh, yeah.
Fish, chickens,
That's right.
horse meat. In fact, we sold the horse meat and
Did you?
people ate it.
Oh, be.
They wasn't supposed to, but
Didn't
they
sell,
did.
didn't sell that blind mule up there, did you?
No.
Oh, me. And you and Miss Sue raised
One daughter and 4 sons.
one daughter and 4 sons. My gosh. And you was gone 90% of the time. She had to be a mom and a dad, didn't she?
Yeah, she had to keep all the livestock alive.
Oh,
But the bull, she let the lightning strike it and kill the poor old fella.
And where was you at when that happened?
National Guard camp in
Was it?
Camp Ripley, Minnesota.
And once in a while they'll get out too, won't they?
They sure will.
Yep.
I don't know why, but they will.
And you have some children in Springfield, Missouri.
Yes, I've got a son, a baby boy, and the oldest is the daughter, and her daughter, and the son's daughter is our granddaughters, and my daughter daughter's over there, and has got the 3-year-old little girl, and she's something else.
And I'll be dadgum, they're wanting to sell out here and move out there. I don't think we need to let them move, but they're wanting to move to Springfield.
Yeah.
But you have one son here, Dexter, and he's kind of famous, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a rib doctor.
That's right. Has a Dexter barbecue, isn't it?
Right.
And they are delicious.
That was Bruce. That's we really hate to move away and miss Bruce because he's our standby.
But you told me you didn't get a senior citizen's discount down there, even though you went, do you?
He always charged me the full price.
Well, tell us about when you enlisted in what branch were you in? The Army?
I was in the Army.
Yep.
Foot pounder and an air pounder.
Foot and air pounder, my goodness. And you went to Scott Field in Illinois?
Yeah, that's where I was processed.
Yeah. And the process,
that's physical, and
that's right.
And you have your aptitude test and all that good stuff.
Yeah. They did.
X-rays.
Yeah.
In fact, come a big storm that on the 19th of August, and we was toward in the 20th of August of 46, and lightning knocked out their X-ray machines, and they had to hold over, find out if our X-rays was good or not.
Did they put you up somewhere?
Well, they're on the
Did they?
Yeah, Fort Scott, or Scott Field, or what is it, the Scott Field or Fort Scott or something?
Yeah. And then from there you went to
Fort Sheridan. Fort
Yeah.
Sheridan, there in the city of Chicago.
Yeah. That's different from here, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it was right in the city, and daytime it was real hot, and that night it was right on the lake. You'd freeze that night. You'd use 2 wool blankets.
Then I noticed in our interview, anytime you could volunteer, you volunteered.
Yep.
Why in the world would you do that?
Experience.
Well, you first volunteered for air school, wasn't it?
Jump school.
Jump school. And that was at Fort Bragg?
Yeah, well, we had to report to after basic training at, where's that?
I don't have
You
it.
got
Right
it
here
down
is.
there.
Right there it is.
Oh, shoot, I know it's in Alabama.
Fort Benning, Georgia? No,
Alabama.
Alabama. Well, I
Well, it was a whack place where the women, they had the women there also.
Huh.
Ain't that something? I can't even think of that.
Well,
Well, say it. Okay.
McClellan?
Yeah, Fort McCullough.
Mm.
I think that's wrong. But
And
anyway, there's basic training there, and after 8 weeks basic training, we went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and that was a holding stage there for Fort Benning Jump School, and Fort Benning was full up, and we, after about a month or so, were just running and 10 miles every morning and doing hours calisthenics. And if you didn't, on that 10-mile run, if you didn't count cadence loud enough, you know how much you had to scream them. You had to do that in quick time, 10 miles of a night with your old Army coat, which was made, I guess it was World War II and maybe more. That old Army
it weighed what?
overcoat. It was heavy and hot, and a full field pack.
My goodness.
And you had one rifle, and you had to do that in quick time. And you'd do a lot of sweating.
And I got Fort Benning. Was that where you?
Well, Fort Benning was full, and they asked for volunteers to go to Japan with the 11th Airborne Division, and I volunteered, and so I left Fort Bragg on a bus to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and stayed there a week or so, and crawled under the fence, and me and another guy went to New York, and we did run all over New York, and they didn't, MPs or anything didn't ever stop us, and so we had a night out that time.
Well, I guess a fellow deserves a night out once in a while. And then you got on a train and went to California, wasn't it?
Fort Camp Stoneman, California.
Yeah, Camp Stoneman.
And processed there, and you had to go over the bay there to Oakland for wait for the ship.
Yeah.
And they shipped us to Japan, and the ship went to Korea instead of, they went straight to Korea instead of Japan. And we stayed there. We debarked there in Incheon, which is shallow port, and the ship, would stay out at sea, and you had to go over the side with your full field pack and your duffel bag, all your Army issue, and go down this netting, which was probably 5 stories high.
Oh my!
That was a pretty good load.
I bet it was, huh?
And we stayed there about a week, and then there's I think it was 13 airborne that had to get back on another ship and go to Japan, which took another 3 days.
My goodness.
And we debarked there at Yokohama, second major port there.
Now, I think you told me there's about 3,000 men on that ship.
And about 2,600 of them got seasick, and they vomited all over the latrine.
Oh my! Huh. Now, you went to jump school over there too, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to.
In Japan?
Yeah, I went to Yamato, we was stationed at Camp Schimmelfenning, which was Sendai, Japan, where the tsunami here, what was that, 2 years ago? Or a year ago, 2 years ago, I guess it was wiped out.
That's right.
Wiped Sendai out.
My goodness.
And probably got that camp too. But went through jump school there at Yamota, which was right on the ocean.
Yeah. Now the cadets now that want to learn to jump, do they still start out the same way jumping that you guys did?
Yeah, you always go through the physical part of it to run. You're glad to jump out of the plane time they get through with you.
I think you told me those tires are around 34 foot high.
There's 34 foot, yeah. Which was shallow. They usually always, we jumped at 1,000 feet.
Oh, is that right?
It took 59 seconds to hit the ground.
Is that right?
With a parachute.
Well, that you were still clipping along pretty good speed with the parachute.
Well, they say it's like jumping off a 3-story building.
Oh, before you
the shock
there.
of it, you know.
Yeah, I'll be. Huh. Then you told me a lot of guys will think they want to do that till they get up there and look down at the ground, and then
they'd freeze and
they'd
kick them out to a ground unit and court martial them and bust them to a private.
Yeah, and then they wish they'd have stayed and jumped.
Well, I don't know if you're that scared. I don't think you would.
Then I think you told me the first plane you jumped out of was a C-47.
Right.
And they'd take about 20 of you up.
Yeah. And then they jumped C-82 or C-119, they call it now, Fairchild.
Yeah.
And they took 30 up and hit.
Huh.
And the hit was a configuration like that, and the jump door was like here and here.
Yeah. Jump on both sides?
Yeah, you went out both sides.
Huh.
I never did like that tail end exit.
Yeah. Huh. Now, I know you had a job shortly after that where you was a Jeep driver, and you got to drive the officers' wives around everywhere on the base, didn't you?
Yep. Well, off the base, they had a little village. I think it's about 5 miles off base, and I was a taxi driver then.
I see. I bet they kept you hopping, didn't they?
Yeah.
Did you ever get to pack any general's wife?
Yeah, we got to any of them that wanted to ride. Yeah.
And when you went to jump school there, you had to jump out of that plane how many times before you was qualified?
5 times.
5 times.
5 times for your parachute infantry badge.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a parachute. It was a parachute badge. It wasn't.
Now, do you have that certificate where you qualified? You have a bunch of certificates laying here. Yeah. Huh.
I got to. I don't see. Well,
we'll look at it.
They're over there.
Now you, after you qualified for that jump from the jump schools, you got to go to Tokyo for a little R&R, didn't you?
I went to 8th Army Automotive Maintenance School
before,
and that was right outside of Yokohama. And then on the weekend we went to Tokyo and Mike Arthur's headquarters and the big train station there in Tokyo.
Now you told me that the Japanese treated you pretty good over there too, didn't they?
Oh, they was superb. They was real nice.
And you got to ride in a what do you call it?
Rickshaw.
A what?
Rickshaw.
Rickshaw. That's right. Yeah. Now, I bet you didn't see very many overweight people over there either,
them Japanese men that, they was older than the boys, you know, and they had legs. You could see the muscles when they was running.
Could you?
They never stopped.
They never stopped. Huh. My. And you volunteered for that auto school?
I volunteered for it. then
I bet that helps you later on to be able to mechanic out on the old farm when you come back too.
yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, I got to be maintenance sergeant of the 188th Regimental Motor Pool.
yeah, yeah.
Which we had a big reserve motor pool that, you know, had the vehicles up on blocks, and you had to perform maintenance on them.
Right. And then you got to come home for a while, didn't you? From Japan?
Well, after 2 years.
After 2 years?
Yeah.
You was over there 2 years, then you got to come home for
I
6.
come home in January, and where our farm was, had a low road, and it was weather similar to this. It rained, and I pulled my jump boots off. I wasn't going to get them wet, and waded in barefooted.
Did you?
Yeah, it was almost waist deep.
Yeah. Now, was you married at that particular time?
No.
Not married yet?
No.
Then I got Fort Bragg down there. You didn't go back to Fort Bragg, did you? Went back to
after
Fort Bragg?
60 days furlough, that January, I had 60-day furlough.
I see.
And I had to report to the 505 at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the same unit that I was taking out pre-A.
I see.
And I stayed there to the 11th Airborne. They rotated back from Japan, the whole unit did, or whole division, and they was stationed over at Camp Campbell then. It's Fort Campbell now. And
but you basically was out then and in the reserves, wasn't you?
no, I was still in.
I see.
Till July the 20th, and I got discharged.
Discharged.
Came back and farmed.
Yeah.
And farm. Well, it was August of '49. I went to St. Louis and running around up there and signed up for the inactive reserves, which you don't have to attend no meetings or nothing.
Yeah.
And a year later, Korean War broke out. And you got there where Pee Wee Day, the mail carrier, brought this registered letter to me. It's William W. Eskew, and he had always returned it. No such name on his route because everybody knew me by West or Wesley. And one day I was cultivating beans, I guess it was, and I took the horses out and fed them, and it looked down the lane there. We lived off CZ there. It was just a country rock road then, but we lived a quarter of a mile off that road, and here come this old Army. I knew it was an Army 30. It was an old 36 Chevrolet car, and they come up, and there's a major and tech sergeant. He asked me if I was William W. Eskew, and I said I sure am. And they said they'd been sending that registered letter and getting it back. Act like I was trying to dodge them, but they had checked through the Dowdy School with my sister and Jerry Jenkins. They was in the same class, and they stopped there at Dowdy School, and I said, asked anybody know William W. Eskew, and my sister said she sure did.
Oh, what'd they tell you?
They told me if I went in St. Louis the next morning at 8 o'clock for a physical, that FBI'd be after me like I was a draft dodger.
And I think you told me you had crops in the field.
Yeah, I had to
walk away.
I left the crops and went to Korea.
And then, now was you married then?
Nope.
Still wasn't married, okay. But then that's when you went back to Japan and then to Korea.
Yeah, into Korea.
Yeah.
And I was on the front line for 11 months.
Was there a whole lot of similarity in the between Japan and Korea where you went?
Terrain-wise, yes.
Yeah, I thought somebody else had told me that.
Yeah, terrain and climate, you know, they have what they call moon-sun season. That's where it rains
Right.
like cats and dogs. Like I think we're in the moon-sun.
I think so. Last year it was a desert season. That's monsoon.
Anyway, that's the way they depend on water for the rice. They don't. Then they did have where they could transport, you know, up on a higher level.
Yeah, yeah.
They'd something like a bicycle.
Oh
they'd pedal that and had pedals, and it was throw it over on that dike.
Well, I'll bet.
And they would. Only a farmer only had maybe 1 to 3 acres.
And then once you got to Korea, the next day you was in the thick of it, wasn't you?
I was on the front line the next day.
Well, and if I read my notes right here, you were a machine gunner.
I was a machine gunner.
50 caliber.
30.
30 caliber. That's one you can pack around pretty good, isn't it?
See, they started out with a heavy, what they call a heavy 30 caliber machine gun, which has got the round water jacket.
Yeah.
And naturally, when it's 30 below zero, they froze and busted.
I see.
So we had what they call the light 30 caliber machine gun. And that one night there, you know, we just had a battle in this little village, and there's a building that, like, the second platoon, they bugged out and left their machine guns there, and they had the first platoon to go in and get it, and I was the machine gunner, and what do they call? They said machine gun forward. So I went forward, and these North Koreans peeping around that building, and it didn't take me very long to get that. My assistant gunner, you know, he carries the bipod, or bipod.
Yeah.
And a box of ammunition, and as soon as he threw that down, I had that machine gun locked in position, and I used pretty near 2 boxes, which was 250 rounds in each box.
Good.
And there's a bolt that holds the latch of a 30 caliber machine gun. That's the mechanism that feeds it.
Right.
Hit the little Carter key, I guess, between the coal and that gun was red hot.
Yeah.
And the Carter key broke, and the nut, you know, just constant firing out of the way, worked off, and they hollered. I want to see. They hollered first. They hollered, said, "Machine gun out of action." I opened it up and put that other box of ammunition in it, and I had hit about fired up, and the thing fell apart. I told them, I said, they hollered, "Machine gun in action." I said, "This here machine gun's finished." Anyway, there was the next morning, there was 28 dead North Koreans behind that building.
And you had to pick up a 45 then, did you?
Yeah, well, I was armed. My sidearm was a 45.
Yeah. And if I remember right, you had to fight for 11 days and freeze to death for 11 days, and they'd send you back with some replacements, wouldn't they?
Well, no, they didn't send us back for replacements. They send you back for one night recuperation.
One night?
And next day, or most times it'd be 1, maybe 2 days, you know, at the most behind, and then you'd of a morning that they said you were pulling out, you know.
Yeah.
You heard this M1s firing, and they was shooting themselves through the wrist.
Yeah.
We was wanting out of Korea.
Yeah, wanting out of Korea. It had to be miserable where you said it got to 30, 40 below, didn't you?
Yeah, well, they're 30 up around that Chosin Reservoir when the Chinese intervened.
Yeah.
It was 40 below zero there.
You got to see General MacArthur when he was at
Yeah, when I was in Japan.
Japan, that's right.
That was the first time over.
Yeah, yeah. Then you said one of the entertainers came over there too,
Yeah.
didn't you? Jack Benny or
Jack Benny or somebody. I think it was Jack Benny. Anyway, he had all these pretty girls, and it was, I guess, that night they was there, it was close to zero, you know.
Oh my.
And they was dressed in little shorts, so,
Oh,
and next, them GIs, you know, done a little holler.
I think they did.
With an interactive home security system from New Wave, your family comes home to peace of mind. Now we bring you the future of home security. Arm and disarm your system remotely from your office computer or iPhone. Even look in on family or pets with live video from inside your home. In an emergency, our 24/7 alarm monitoring responds with the help you need. Peace of mind wherever you are. Now available from New Wave Communications.
All right, Wes, I think you told me like if you was out for 11 days, you got to come in and take a shower and eat a pretty good meal.
Well,
Maybe.
maybe. One time we got a break like that, and the cooks, they killed one of them old Korean
Pig?
buffaloes or whatever you call them.
Yeah, yeah.
They killed it and processed it. I wouldn't eat any of it though.
Why did you should ate that?
I was too particular.
Now, if I remember right, a lot of them sea rations was horse meat, wasn't it, back then?
We got some awful coarse meat to be beef.
Did you? You didn't read the tag, did you?
But mainly I ate beans and frankfurters.
Really?
I'd trade that for I'd trade my chicken for, because I won't eat chicken, period.
I see. Huh.
So I'd trade that for beans and frankfurters or pork and beans.
Yeah, I'll be darned.
And I found out why they call them our sleeping bags, you know what.
Yeah, yeah. And here on my notes, we've got, when you was on the front line, there was 9 of you had to share one sleeping bag. Is
That's
that right?
One sleeping bag per night.
9 of you can't get in that sleeping bag at one time either, can you? Woo!
No, you only got 1 hour, I think.
1 hour.
Yeah.
Did you actually warm up any while you was in it?
Yeah, you went to sleep.
Oh, you did?
Because you was asleep. When I first got over there, back up, first got over there, we was withdrawing. I had to withdraw all the way through Seoul and that river shoot there goes right through Seoul. Thought I never would forget it, but anyway, that river goes right through Seoul, and we pulled back about 30 miles and set up our defense, and that's as far as the Chinese and the North Koreans, because that lengthened our supply line.
Yeah.
And our Air Force was something else over there, using napalm, when we had to take a hill or a mountain or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The Air Force would use napalm and bombs, 500-pound bombs, and explosives, above ground.
And you told me the U.S. mistaken you for the North Korean, and they opened fire on you one time with some tanks, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the North Korea was firing at you.
Yeah, if you'd run across the other side of the mountain, the North Koreans shoot at you.
Run back over there and the tanks shoot at you.
If you go back the other way, but I'll tell you what, them old 50 caliber machine guns on them tanks.
Oh, man.
That bullet sounded like a fence post coming by you.
Huh. Now, once in a while, North Korea'd get a hold of one of the 60 millimeter, what do you call them? The
mortars.
Mortars, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said they was pretty wicked with them, didn't you?
Yeah. Them mortars is something else. You can hear them come out of the tube, but you never hear them when they hit.
Nope. Now you was in North Korea or in Korea a total of 11 months, something like that,
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah. And you made sergeant while you was over there?
No.
No?
I was promoted I was platoon sergeant and I was a corporal.
Oh, okay.
And I got it's supposed to been automatically, when a platoon sergeant or squad leader or whatever gets killed and you're replacing, you're supposed to automatically be promoted to the rank that position calls for. But anyway, the platoon leader told me he put me in for, it was either tech sergeant or master sergeant, I can't recall. And next morning, I think it was, he said, they lost your special order for master or tech sergeant, whichever. Said they lost it with the papers of all your combat informant's badge.
I see. Huh. Anything else we need to highlight about while you was over at Korea?
Well, the platoon leader called me up and told me, before that, the platoon leader called me up and tell me he hated to send me out on this outpost, which was 500 yards. I don't think we covered that, but out 5 yards in front of the MLR, main line of resistance. And he said the ones he'd picked, most of the time they'd hear pheasants or something and run back in. And so he said he hated to send me out. Anyway, he sent me out. And I got up on that big mountain there and I told these guys, I said, if any of you run, I said, I'll shoot you. Without my order for them to evacuate it.
Then you, and that ended and you got to come back home, but you were still in the Guards for 30 years, wasn't you?
Yep.
30 years in the Guards.
Yeah, 30 years, and we went to Honduras one summer, it was in March, but it was their summer.
Huh.
And we went, after I even got discharged, in 85, I went to Red River, which was in Texas, to camp. And then one year they flew us to Korea, the unit, we had to meet up here at the armory, and they hired 2 buses to take us to St. Louis to the airport, and these 2 buses was following each other. Got almost St. Louis, the back bus run into the back of the first bus. And we finally got to the airport, and we flew from St. Louis to Oakland, California, and got off there and was 2 hours delayed there. And got back on the same plane and flew to Fairbanks, Alaska. And the next morning at crack of dawn, we was over Mount Fuji.
Oh, really?
There in Japan.
Well, I'll be.
And that was something that was really interesting. They flew over the edge of it. and you can see down that crater.
Oh, my.
That was a big circle.
Huh. Huh. You've seen a lot of interesting stuff, haven't you?
Well, I seen all of it.
Some of it you probably didn't want to see. And then I think you told me that you finally run across one of your buddies that you made friends with over in Korea. He had an unusual name, but you you didn't get in touch with him, but found out he was maybe in Florida or somewhere.
No,
he had been wounded.
Well,
you thought he was.
No, back up. This guy was named Posignal, and I was calling him B-Signal. He was in my squad, and he was shot by friendly fire, which was a guy in our squad.
Huh.
He was cracking up, this guy was, and I wouldn't recommend him for leave Korea.
Huh.
And one night he was on guard, this guy that was wanting out of Korea, and he said he fell asleep, and this Posignal always had the extra men each squad had a certain area they had to cover.
Right.
And the extra guys always had them sleep behind that machine gun. I was a machine gun squad leader at that time, and Posignal raised up in his sleeping bag, and this guy turned around, emptied his M1, which is the clip held 7, and one in the chamber was 8 rounds. He fired 8 rounds, and 2 of them hit this Posignal. One went through his left shoulder here, just deep enough to leave a perfect round hole. Wasn't hardly a bleeding. And I pulled it out. I went to his sleeping bag. I asked him if he was hit. He said he didn't think so. And then he said, "Oh, my hand's full of blood." And I pulled it out of his sleeping bag, and looked like a gallon of blood. He'd been shot just right above his penis. That's vital organs.
You better believe it.
In there. So I thought he, wouldn't make it. Anyway, they got it on a helicopter, and I never. When you're in the infantry, you go on.
Sure.
The wounded or dead, or what goes the other way.
But you found out later on he'd survived, didn't you?
Yeah, my wife did. She's what do you call a
computer whiz?
She's a computer. Look where she's hiding.
I see you're on where kind of peeking around.
Anyway, she found out on a computer, and went through the Social Security or something.
Ancestry.com.
Yeah, Ancestry.com, and found out about him.
And found out, I knew he was from New York.
New York.
And because his mother sent him fruitcake. They was Italian.
Yeah.
And sent fruitcake over there, and that picture.
You got a picture with him.
Yeah. That picture there, where the 2 of us was.
Wes, you got a lot of medals over there too. Tell us some about.
Well, I got the combat infantryman badge and
the what now?
Combat infantryman's badge, which my wife we're in the process of moving, and she's packed hitting my jump wings.
Can't find them right now.
I got a set that one of my buddies, Dennis Rogers, you probably heard of him, know him.
Yeah.
He gave me on my 80th birthday that sign. I don't know if you've seen it outside there about the old farmer.
Oh yeah.
Well, he gave me those black wings, which I never seen the black when I've used to have. Like over in Korea, I wore they sewed on wings on your fatigue. They call them Susie, what do they call them? Oh,
The black wings?
no, well, anyway, a different color. I'm colorblind anyway, so
Oh, you are? You're colorblind?
yeah.
Huh.
Boy, I'll tell you, when you get 84,
Oh,
that stuff slips.
That's all right. That's all right. Anyway, you got a lot of medals over there.
Well,
But you didn't get wounded and get that. Thank goodness you didn't get that old Purple Heart, did you?
nope, never
Yeah.
got it.
I know you had to been close.
I've shot. I met just before I rotated back to the States. We was on patrol, and the platoon sergeant of the second platoon. I was platoon sergeant of the first platoon, and we was both firing the machine gun, which we wasn't supposed to, but we thought we had more experience than anybody else, and we was shoulder to shoulder, and I heard a gurgle and turned around, and a shrapnel from that, you could hear them 60 mortars coming out of the tube.
Yeah.
And a mortar blowed his face all the way off here, his teeth, his tongue, and just left his eyes. And I thought for sure he would die, but we got him back to a helicopter, and they said 2 years they'd probably have him restored some, but
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't look natural.
Oh, Wes, we're going to take a little break right here now. We're going to kind of look at. All right, Miss Wes, Miss Sue, we appreciate you visiting with us today, letting us in your home, and we'll salute you, brother.
Okay.
And we didn't mention you attend. What church do you attend here in town?
First Christian Disciple of Christ. It's on Stoddard, East Stoddard, and what's that, Elm or something?
Yeah, it's one of them old ones, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you here being a Hometown Hero program today, and welcome. We want you to stay in Dexter. Don't you move off over to Springfield. All right, we'll close her out today, and thank you for tuning in today and watching our Hometown Heroes program. If you'd like to help sponsor this program, get in touch with YHC TV and help us sponsor and keep this program going. And we really enjoy doing it, and we know you enjoy watching it. And James Hendley and Tyler Wagner, YHC TV signing off.